Prime Field.
If you thought UConn's injury season was supposed to slow them down, it just did the opposite. Because the story right now isn't only the undefeated streak, and it's the new weapon Geno Auriemma just unlocked. Allie Ziebell, a sophomore who went from nice depth piece to game plan breaker, and she's doing it at the exact moment UConn needs a second unit star the most. So here's the question. Did UConn just find the perimeter X factor that turns an injury crisis into a March advantage? Let's talk about what changed and why defenses are panicking. Every season has a turning point. And for Zabel, it's not complicated. January 28th, 2026 versus Xavier. UConn is shorthanded. The offense starts cold. They miss their first 10 threes. And the game has that uneasy feeling where you're thinking, okay, who's going to get points tonight? And Zabel steps in and basically announces herself. She hits 10 of 14 from 3, tying the UConn single-game record previously held by Maya Moore, Kalina Mosqueda-Lewis, and Katie Lou Samuelson, and pours in 34 points, a program record for a player coming off the bench. That's not just a hot night. That's a proof of concept. It told Geno, and it told every Big East scouting report, that Zabel isn't just a spot shooter. She can be a primary scoring option. And when UConn's offense needed oxygen, her entry sparked that 19-4 run that flipped the game. So when you watched the Creighton blowout later and thought, wow, she's doing it again, that's why. Fast forward to February 11th versus Creighton. Zabel goes 5 of 8 from 3, her biggest perimeter night since Xavier, and finishes with 20 points. But here's the key. It wasn't random. This is the part that changes UConn's ceiling, because in modern women's college basketball, elite shooting isn't just points, it's gravity. Gravity is what pulls a defense out of the paint. It's what turns crowded into wide open. And if you're UConn, that means players like Sarah Strong suddenly get cleaner touches, fewer double teams, and more space to operate. So Zabel isn't just adding points. She's changing the geometry of the court. Ask yourself, how many teams can deal with that for 40 minutes? Now here's the part that makes Zabel terrifying in March. It's not only the catch and shoot, it's the fact she's developing into a late clock bailout. Against Creighton, the film shows something important. Zabel is understanding isolation basketball, using her 6'0" frame to hunt mismatches and create space. Her step-back jumper has become a real weapon, not a maybe, a plan. In the second half versus Creighton, she scored 17 of her 20, and during that huge swing, the 17-0 run, her isolation plays directly created 7 points. And the sequence everyone remembers? Third quarter. She hits a step-back 3 from 23 feet, absorbs contact, and finishes in a 1 4-point play. That's the kind of shot that breaks teams, because now what do you do defensively? Contest too close and you risk a foul. Back up and it's a clean look. Switch the mismatch and she's got the space. And here's why it matters to the whole roster. If Zabel can generate offense without a perfect set, it reduces the load on Zabel-Fud and KK Arnold. So instead of asking your primary ball handlers to solve every possession, you're spreading the responsibility. That is how you survive March. Okay, but can she do it when the assignment changes? Because being a microwave scorer off the bench is one thing. Being a starter, defending first, managing risk, handling pressure, that's a different job. February 7th versus Butler. Sarah Strong sits with calf tighten as Zabel starts. And she doesn't just survive. She shows she can be trusted. She plays 31 minutes, second only to Ashlyn Shade, and keeps the game clean. 11 points on 4 of 6 shooting, only 3 turnovers, and here's the eye-opener. She matches KK Arnold for a team-high 4 steals. That's not just effort. That's a signal. It tells Geno he can use Zabel as a chess piece. Starter minutes, bench role, defensive assignment, whatever the situation demands. And if you're a UConn fan, you know what that means. When the rotation gets stressed, foul trouble, minor injuries, matchup issues, you don't have to panic. Here's the bigger team story. UConn's bench has stopped being a pause. It's become a weapon. Against Creighton, UConn's reserves outscore Creighton's bench 38-5. Zabel has 20 of those. Kaylee Heckel adds 13. That's a bench unit extending leads, not just holding them. And it's happening while UConn is managing the injuries and absences. Her bench minutes have risen, roughly a 20% increase over the last stretch. And the wild part? Her efficiency hasn't dropped. It's trended up. That's the definition of a volume-friendly player. The more responsibility she gets, the more valuable she becomes. And if you want one number to summarize Creighton, plus 26 in 25 minutes, that's not she played well. That's the game was over when she was on the floor. Now let's talk about something that doesn't show up in highlight montages, but wins tournaments. Zabel's impact on UConn's pace. Transition offense is the lifeblood of this system, and Ziebell's background as a high school point guard shows up in one simple habit. She rebounds, and immediately makes the outlet. Against Creighton, her defensive rebounds and quick look-ahead passes help trigger a 7-0 opening run. She has 4 rebounds versus Butler and 2 versus Creighton, and a high percentage of those are turning into early offense. And UConn's team numbers reflect it. 26 points off turnovers and 9 fast break points versus Creighton. That's not accidental. That's operational speed. And Geno even said the quiet part out loud. Post-game, Ziebell knows where the ball is supposed to go. That's trust. Now we get to the combo that could define the postseason. Fud plus Allie Ziebell. Against Creighton, Fud scores 19, becomes the 10th UConn player to reach 250 career threes. And when those two share the floor, defenses don't get to breathe. They combine for 39 points. They shoot 8 of 12 from 3. And that's why the scheme breaks. If you shade toward Fud, Ziebell gets daylight. If you rotate to Zabel, Fud gets space. It's a pick-your-poison setup. And in the modern game, dual shooting threats create chaos because every rotation is late. The result? The offense becomes easier, not harder. So now we arrive at the question fans are going to argue about all week. Does Zabel deserve a permanent starting spot? Because Blanca Cagnona, who averages 10.7 points and has earned Big East Freshman of the Week multiple times, has been dealing with a shoulder injury flare-up and missed games like Butler and Creighton. And in that opening, Zabel has stepped through. The trade-off is real. Quinones brings size, versatility, rebounding. Zabel brings spacing, pace, and high-end shooting gravity. But then you remember Butler, 4 steals. And you start wondering if the defensive gap is shrinking. Here's what's most likely, even if the lineup doesn't change on paper. Zabel may force starter-level minutes either way. Because when you have a player who can tilt a game in 5 possessions, you don't save her. You deploy her. And now we've got the next layer to this story. February 14th at Marquette. Ziebell is a Wisconsin native from Neenah, the 2024 Wisconsin Miss Basketball and Gatorade Player of the Year. She finished her high school career with 2,819 points, 4th all-time in Wisconsin history, and averaged 27.5 as a senior. She's expecting over 50 family members at the game. And Geno, in peak Geno fashion, joked that if she doesn't run back on defense in front of her family, she's getting benched forever. That's not just comedy. That's the coach publicly acknowledging she matters now. And in a building like that, with that emotional energy, the shots feel different. So the question becomes, does the homecoming amplify the heater? Or does Marquette turn it into a grind? Either way, UConn now has something they didn't have earlier. A bench scorer who can swing the entire tone of the night. So here's the biggest takeaway. The Zabel factor is turning UConn's injury attrition into a strength. She's proving she can explode off the bench, create in isolation, start when needed, defend with real activity, and keep UConn's pace lethal. And when you pair her with Zabel-Fud, the backcourt math starts looking unfair. Now I want to hear from you. If Blanca Quinones is healthy for the Big East tournament, do you keep Zabel in the starting 5, or do you treat her as the ultimate 6th starter who wins the second quarter? Drop your answer in the comments. And tell me what lineup you trust most when March gets tight.
Prime Field.